British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello, my name is Lisa Cofton. This is your news update at 3:30 p.m. Right after the closing of London Drugs, another cybersecurity issue has affected BC government network. According to the statement of David Eby's office, they have not found any sensitive data to be compromised. But they are investigating the incident to determine the risks of possible information access. Together with the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, the province is working to solve the issue. Another challenge across the Lower Mainland are housing and addiction. A contributor to homelessness and addiction in the Tri-Cities are the lack of access to information. But as Grace Chan discovers, there are small outreach groups combating this access barrier.
McCarthy Weisel is the founder of the Uplifting Group. This organization creates and distributes care packages to people on the streets.
The packages right now, they include multiple water bottles, usually it's 2, followed by usually at minimum 2, sometimes 3 or 4, like small snacks. So it can be granola bars, bags of chips, small little kind of items that can be eaten quickly. And then depending on resources, we incorporate hand sanitizers, sort of toiletry items, so toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, things of that nature.
Weisel is passionate about lending a helping hand and wants people to know that these issues are not easily solvable, but require a long-term collaborative process from the community. Grace Chan, BCIT's The Crow.
Moving to technology now. Today is a project expo for BCIT's Mechatronics and Robotics program. As reporter Jacob Fraser explains, the expo is an opportunity for students to display their unique projects.
BCIT's Mechatronics and Robotics program, Project Expo, is an opportunity for students to show off their projects to industry professionals. The students have worked together in groups over the past 4 months to create their projects. Student Zai Jarvis explains how his project, called 21 Jump Treat, works.
Yeah, our project is an automated dog treat labeler. It uses a camera to detect treats on a table, and then it relays that information to our robot, our ABB robot, and it will go find the treats on the table, pick them up, place them in a labeler. It will retrieve them from the labeler and place them in a box.
Jarvis and his team worked with open-range dog treats, and he says the reason they created their robot is to try and eliminate the need for employees to do repetitive processes, which can lead to repetitive strain injuries. Jacob Fraser, BCIT's The Crow.
Another consequence of the pandemic in lives of BC citizens. According to Stats Canada, roughly 20% of Canadians are working full-time from home as of November 2023. In the Brantford area of Burnaby, a free co-working event is underway. Our reporter Keenan Chigaskis found out what kind of people attend these types of events.
Co-working events provide people with an alternate space to work aside from their house. The Beta Collective co-working workshops offer memberships to entrepreneurs and small business owners who need office space. Connor Dales, a regular member for over a year, says he has seen people from many walks of life attend.
I've come across people who are script writers on a television and film series, to accountants, to software engineers, podcasters, people who are in marketing.
The workshop is free on the second Thursday of every month. Keenan Chigaskis, BCIT's The Crow.
Good to Grow is a food consultant organization based in North Vancouver. Their annual trade show brings lots of vendors from all around the province to show off their products. Our reporter Alessia Cusano has more.
From the ground up, Good to Grow's annual trade show has been happening yearly since 2018. Andrea Gray Grant, CEO of Good to Grow, explains why she started her organization and how much the show has expanded.
It was every year it got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So we've now gone from 35 booths 6 years ago to 76 this year. And, you know, we just keep growing and doing what the people that are coming to the show are asking for, right, is to see more local.
Greg Grant founded Good to Grow in 2011 for the purpose of being able to support local food and beverage brands. Food sustainability is most important to Good to Grow, as well as many of the exhibitors at the show. Alessio Cusano, BCIT's The Crow.
Now Alessio Cusano joins us live. Alessio, can you tell me more about Good to Grow's purpose?
Of course. So the purpose of Good to Grow is to serve and support new emerging food and beverage businesses. Teaching, coaching, and mentoring were steps Andrea also took when she first founded Good to Grow, which leads to today, where Andrea and her team have supported hundreds of brands.
How many years has the show been going on for?
So the show has been happening annually for 6 years now, since 2018. It is also the only trade show that is 100% British Columbia markets. As Andrea said, there has been a huge expansion of exhibitors in the past few years. For this year, there were about 80 different exhibitors.
This is so cool. I'm happy to hear such good news. Thank you, Alessio.
Thank you, Lisa.
Holidays are coming. Mother's Day is this weekend, leaving many people scrambling for gifts and favors for their moms in their life. The typical Mother's Day is to take her out for brunch or dinner, buy some flowers, and have the whole family come together. But Isabella Calisi finds out that you will need to book brunch in advance if you want to have a meal with your mom.
Ian Tostenson is the president of the BC Restaurant Association and says that Mother's Day is one of the busiest times of the year for the industry. He explained that compared to a typical Sunday, revenue can double for eateries in the province. He says that the brunch places in the Lower Mainland that he knows of are already fully booked for the upcoming Sunday.
Mother's Day is when everybody has a chance to give mom a break. Mom doesn't have to cook. Let's pamper mom. And so restaurants are, it's probably the most important / busiest days for us is Mother's Day because everybody wants to take their mom out and make sure they don't have to cook and pamper themselves.
Tostenson says that everyone wants to treat mom to a good meal, whether that's ordering more bubbly or adding a few extra appetizers to the bill. Isabella Calisi, BCIT's The Crow.
Another idea to take care of your mom is to help her with health checkup. The Canadian Cancer Society says all provinces and territories should start screening women for breast cancer earlier. The current guideline set by a national task force says screening for people at average risk for breast cancer should start at age 50. But the Canadian Cancer Society's Sandra Krukel says starting at age 40 will detect cancer earlier.
The data is really evolving and it's complex and there's lots of nuances to it. But, in general, we feel now that there's strong enough evidence from trials, from modeling studies, and from real world data to warrant that shift to 40.
Krugel says about 13% of breast cancer cases in Canada happen between age 40 and 49. Former Toronto Maple Leaf head coach Sheldon Keefe has posted a video on X thanking front office staff and players hours after the NHL team announced his firing. He also had praise for the team's passionate fans. Keefe was fired after 5 seasons in charge following the Leafs' defeat to Boston in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Leafs Nation, you deserve your Stanley Cup. Your passion at home and on the road is unmatched. It's an incredible honor to coach the Maple Leafs, to try to deliver for you.
Moving to weather now. After a week of rains and cold in BC, we fortunately expect sun and hot temperature, so don't forget to use your sunscreen to protect the skin. The temperature is likely to remain at around 19 degrees during the day and around 10 at night. Later in the week, clouds are going to cover the Lower Mainland, but the temperature still remains the same. That was your news update to 3:30 p.m. Have a nice evening. I am Lisa Cofton, BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Spencer Pomeroy, and this is your 345 Sports Update. The Vancouver Canucks are back on the ice tomorrow night for Game 2 of their second-round matchup with the Edmonton Oilers. Canucks head coach Rick Tocchet says the team is expecting another challenging game.
I'm pretty sure this group's back on earth. They know, hey, that was great, but we got a long way to go. And that game tomorrow is huge. And how do we correct some of the mistakes, and some of the stuff that we did well continue? Is it sustainable? You have to play that mental thing in your head. I think it's important.
After Sheloss allowed 4 goals on 18 shots, NHL.com's Kevin Woodley sees a case for a goalie change.
There's probably an element of, okay, he's comfortable, we're confident he can get back to the guy he was in the National Series now that he's seen this, but there might be also an element of, hey, we got a guy sitting on the bench here that's beaten this team twice, that has more experience with National Hockey League traffic, that might be a little more comfortable against this Edmonton Oilers team because it's not new to him.
Game 2 is 7 o'clock tomorrow in Vancouver. In NHL playoff action tonight, the New York Rangers will take their 2-0 series lead to Carolina to face the Hurricanes. Vincent Trocheck's power play goal in double overtime gave the Rangers the win in Game 2. Puck drop for Game 3 is 4 o'clock. Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars series resumes today for Game 2. The Stars had a 3-0 lead in Game 1 before the Avalanche stormed back to force overtime. Puck drop is 6:30 at the American Airlines Center. In other NHL news, the Toronto Maple Leafs have fired head coach Sheldon Keefe after 5 seasons with the club. In a video post on X, Keefe says he's taking full responsibility for the team's playoff struggles.
I didn't get it done in the playoffs. I didn't help push our team over the line and deliver. I accept responsibility for that. No excuses. That's the job. I didn't get it done.
Draft day is an exciting day for those that are selected, though there are many players that go undrafted. As reporter Jacob Fraser explains, the draft is a fun and nerve-wracking experience for players.
The WHL Prospect Draft is today. The 22 WHL teams are selecting players from across Western North America for their future rosters. For the players selected, it is a day they will remember forever. Former 7th-round draft pick Ryan Denny says after he was drafted, he was nervous going into camp.
It was a pretty cool experience for a young kid, and it was pretty overwhelming, and that kind of affected my play. I was pretty nervous. Pretty big stage for a young kid. It's an exciting time for you and your family and your friends, obviously.
Once the draft is completed, players will attend a rookie camp with the team that selects them, as well as other undrafted players who are invited. This is their first opportunity to show their abilities and experience what it's like to play in the WHL. Jacob Fraser, BCIT's The Crow.
Now Jacob Fraser joins us live. Jacob, the Vancouver Giants selected Blake Chorney in today's WHL Prospects Draft. What do we know about him?
Thanks, Spencer. The Giants took Chorney with the 10th overall pick. Chorney is a Saskatchewan native that played for Northern Alberta Extreme in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League. He picked up 42 points in 24 games at the U15 division.
A BC-born player was taken 2nd overall. Can you tell us a bit more about him?
Brock Cripps was taken by the Prince Albert Raiders with the number 2 pick. Cripps was born in Victoria and spent this past season with St. George's in Vancouver.
And who was taken 1st overall today?
The Everett Silvertips took Edge School defenseman Landon DuPont. DuPont is just the 2nd player in WHL history, along with Chicago Blackhawks star Connor Bedard, to be granted exceptional status.
Thank you, Jacob. In basketball news, Caitlin Clark will make her WNBA home debut tonight with the Indiana Fever. The preseason opener in Dallas had fans hooked as she scored a team-high 21 points. A nearly full house of up to 17,000 fans are expected to attend. Tip-off tonight is 4 o'clock. In the NBA, MVP runner-up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will lead the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 2 of their series. Gilgeous-Alexander dropped 29 points in Game 1 and will look to take a commanding 2-0 series lead at home before the series shifts to Dallas. Tip-off is 6:30 from Paycom Center. That has been your 345 Sports Update. I'm Spencer Pomeroy. You're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
I'm facing 51 days in jail right now, but that's okay. Because we all know what we need to do. We need to save Mother Earth. There's no price too high to do what we need to do. Kayla Kessler, Nugo Rainbow Eyes. I'm a member of the Danakdal Awitlala First Nation, and our traditional territory is Night Inlet. I think for me, the call of the forest is finding out who our ancestors are and how we can connect to them. Really, going in and listening to our intuition and following it and trusting ourselves and being easy on ourselves when we mess up, because we're going to. When people come together in the forest for the same cause, it's magic. People become family. And it was incredible how that happened, because we were all there for the forest. We were all there to protect the forest, and we were all there to learn together. When I lived in Calgary, I worked for an oil and gas company, but it didn't take me long to figure out that that's not what I wanted to do. Right when I got a job in the oil and gas, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that really, I was 21, and that really changed the way I viewed life. And it was after my treatment, I went back to work in an office, and it was like it wasn't fulfilling anymore. I started volunteering with the Canadian Cancer Society in Wellspring, Calgary. And it was when I was working with people who I had shared experiences with that I really found passion. And I think that's what we had at Fairy Creek. I went by myself. I didn't go with anybody. And I went, packed up my car. I was gonna go for 3 days, and I ended up moving in with everybody else. It became my home within a week.
Nation's traditional territory includes Fairy Creek, where anti-old-growth logging protesters are maintaining blockades in defiance of a court injunction.
Protesters are alleging police brutality and excessive use of force.
Blockades have been set up as activists wait for police to enforce a court order.
A BC Supreme Court judge admonished some of the RCMP tactics at the site, including the way pepper spray has been used and officers covering badge numbers.
For decades, the industry has argued trees like this are incredibly valuable, but as lumber.
We know that this has got real consequences, and so it's really, I think, timely that we're talking a bit about Fairy Creek at a time when we still have the chance to, protect that area. Hi, I'm Peter Wood. I'm a lecturer and coordinator of the Masters of International Forestry program here at the UBC Faculty of Forestry. I think the important thing to consider is the sum total of the impacts of any one cut block. So in the context of Fairy Creek, yes, that's the one watershed we're looking at. But if you want to think about the sustainability of those forest management operations as a whole, you really have to look at the broader landscape. At the landscape level, we get a sense that the older logging patterns have put us in a situation where we have very, very little left of old growth in that landscape. So it could be that that area is acting like a bit of a Noah's Ark for biodiversity, right? The surrounding area is gone. If you go on Google satellite view, it pops out, Fairy Creek pops out as this very last uncut watershed that really is the last of that area.
Hello, yes, my name is William Jones of the Pachidat First Nation in Port Renfrew, just up here. as I was up there over 2 years doing the blockading, I started realizing and remembering Grandpa told us to not go up to the forest to cut it down, to go up to the forest to pray and meditate. We were a disorganized hodgepodge of unrelated people who went up there, and we basically managed how to look after ourselves down up there, and we wound up recruiting people, and along come Angela, who was a experienced young eco-defender that cared about our great mother. I says, can you come and help me protect my land? And she said, sure.
Elder Bill from the Pachidat First Nation, I like to call him our Yoda. He's our wise elder. He always says we all have an Indigenous heart, and that's what we're following, and that's what we're remembering. I was so determined, and I had so much knowledge of what was going on and how wrong the logging was that I was like, okay, my parents don't know this is gonna happen. I'm close to my mom and dad, but I'm ready to get arrested. They had a bike lock. It was last minute. They were able to figure that out, and one of them said, okay, I think I know where we can put you. Yeah, that was a really good picture of me changed to the Teal Jones gate for my first arrest. I was never scared because of the community at Fairy Creek and the time that I had leading up to it.
I feel that Angela is bringing love to the world, and the world wants to crush her via using the legal system.
Everybody that gets arrested has to sign a sheet. And the officer made it sound like I was almost ready to go. She's like, okay, one more thing. You just have to sign here saying that you won't go back into TFL 46. And that was the last thing. And I was like, well, I can't sign it. I cried again because the realization that they could do that to us, that for doing what we knew was so right. So I didn't sign, so they were able to put me in jail. I was arrested 5 times and spent 5 nights in jail. And each time we got more comfortable or confident in what we were doing. I think it was my 3rd arrest that I sang the Woman's Warrior song, and I laid on the floor and I sang out the crack of the door. And I sang until I lost my voice. Hey, 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 yah-hee-oh, yah-hee-oh, hey, hey, yah-hee-oh, yah-hee-oh, hey, hey, yah-hee-oh, hey, hey, hey. I've had a 25-day hearing in total over 2 years. And during my trial, I've had 4 Crown prosecutors going against my 1 lawyer. I know I have a losing case. I knew it from the beginning. The colonial court system does not have any sympathy for any Indigenous land defender who breaks a law.
White man does not understand, particularly in his legal system, that he says, oh, Angela's from there. And therefore she's not defending her own land, she's up meddling in other people's land. That is not true. I invited Angela there.
This is the Rainforest Flying Squad. My dad made this. It was a Christmas gift, so he made it on a CMT machine. So, seeing how it's taken my parents to process what's going on, I understand why it takes people a long time to understand. because it took my parents a long time to understand. But now my parents are full supporters. They're going to be at my court date on the 4th. They're going to be there to support. When I felt the call to go to Fairy Creek, it really was slow. I was working here in Campbell River. I had a contract job, and I actually saw it first on my Instagram feed, just like differently. But for myself, I found it really hard to really look into and acknowledge the fact that there was old growth logging happening so close to home. So I think I understand why it takes people a little while to acknowledge the fact that we are in a climate crisis and we're almost at an end point where we won't be able to turn around, because it's really, really hard to acknowledge that.
It really could be the last area, or one of the last areas in that TFL where some of these old growth dependent species are finding a place to make their home. So it really is something that is alarming when you're going after the last of the last. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to reading documents on this, and I've read a lot of the original commissions of inquiry that go back to like 1910, 1911. We've had, I think, 5 different commissions that have warned about the problems that we will face if we log too fast. I think there's 2 Sloan commissions after World War II, and then the Peter Pierce Commission was in the 1970s, another old growth commission in the 80s, the Clayoquot Sound Scientific Panel, 1993 through 5, I think, and then now the Gary Merkel Old Growth Strategic Review.
This is my button blanket. My mom made it. I wear it into the courthouse every time I go into the courthouse. So I always feel really a lot more comfortable as well, because I know I'm not going into the courthouse by myself. I'm going with this. The only expectation I have of April 4th is that it's going to be a huge, beautiful gathering. You know, it's for the forest. And it's interesting that the one place we get together again is at the courthouse in Nanaimo.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to gather for the sacred forest, to gather for the trees, to gather for the revolution that we found in the forest, to continue it.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.